Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm putting on my face all my April favorites. I have quite a few things that I tried and I have quite a few things that I really liked, but I also have a lot of things that I already owned that I still used a lot. So we're gonna do a combination of all those things because I am wearing some yellow in my shirt and most of the new stuff is more pinky. So I think I'm gonna have to use some of those older products. I've really been into yellow toned eyeshadow and yellow toned makeup. So I've been using those things a lot, so they are definitely favorites. So let's go ahead and get into the video. Really quickly, just before we get started, I want to say thank you so much for clicking on my video. I upload 3 times a week with makeup content and sometimes I do art videos. So please join my little YouTube corner by subscribing or leave a like or a comment. That would really be appreciated. Alright, I'm going to start right away with some older favorites. So for base, the new Fenty Skin Tint came out and I reviewed it and I really like this, but its main problem is that it transfers quite a bit. So it's perfect, it's light coverage, it's not very dewy, that's exactly what I needed. But I wanted something that was going to stay on my face all day. And since I'm going out today, yay, I'm going out with my mom. We're gonna have a date together. I can't use this because it'll transfer all over the place. But luckily, I've also really been using my L'Essentiel Haute Perfection foundation from Guerlain. And I thought we could use this one. And the primer that I like to use with this one is the Meteorites Base from Guerlain. The pump stopped working. I guess it is almost out anyway. I really don't have time for this right now. Well, just know that I really like this one. But of course, a classic favorite that you've seen on my channel a lot of times is the Lancôme La Base, which I usually use with the Huda foundation, because that foundation is so thick. But I recently discovered that it works very nicely with the Guerlain foundation as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I have the shade 00N, by the way. And I just use a brush. And I really like this foundation. I've been loving it ever since I reviewed it a couple of months ago. But I love this because it looks so flawless without being very cakey. So it's not as easy to over apply this one as it is with the Huda foundation. And this one lasts a lot longer. So I found that the Huda foundation, after a full day, it gets a little bit tacky and it doesn't look as nice anymore. And this foundation has been through a lot. Like even rains and masks and stuff like that. And it always looked pretty flawless. For concealer, I'm just going to use my Pat McGrath, because this is the most full coverage concealer that I have. And I just feel like a more full coverage foundation needs a more full coverage concealer. So I use this one or the Too Faced Born This Way, but I've recently discovered that the Too Faced Born This Way kind of creases on me. I do love the color of that one, it's very pale. But I've been gravitating towards the Pat McGrath for the past couple of weeks, so that's what I'm going to use. And for powder, I used a new powder in my most recent video, but that was technically in May, so I'm going to think about what powder I used before that. I guess a powder that I've been using quite a lot is this John van G powder. I'm not sure where you can get this outside of the Netherlands. In the Netherlands you can get this at Ethos. And I do see it's localized in the Netherlands, at least the company is. But it's just a color correcting powder. And I like using this for setting all of my base. So not just underneath my eyes, but everywhere. So I'm just going to use this. like it because it's not that light, so I can use it all over my face, but it's not too dark, so I can use it underneath my eyes. Because you would think that that's mostly possible, but it really isn't. I'm going to use quite a bit of powder today since I am going out. I would usually use a loose powder, but I haven't been using that much powder the last couple of weeks. Just a little bit to set my concealer. I've been experimenting with that. Going a little bit extra heavy right here, where the mask will touch my face. But you see, this powder is really quite invisible. But it did smooth everything even more. And this foundation does look pretty much like this on its own. A little bit extra control is never a bad thing. Now we're going into the newer products. I reviewed the new Fire Queen palette by Benefit. This is part of their 4-scope collection. They made 3 palettes. And I bought the Fire one because this one had the most shades I didn't have. And I did say in my review, you should look it up if you're curious about the exact shades, that the Hoola that's in this palette is a little bit darker and a little bit more cool toned than the Hoola in my Cheek Stars palette from last year. And I like that because I am very pale and I always like a little bit of a cooler toned bronzer. Or a little bit more pinky toned. So I'm just going to use this one to bronze. You can see it's still pigmented enough. I know one palette had all the traditional Benefit shades, so it had Hoola and Cookie, and then I think the Georgia blush. And then one was more of a blush highlighter palette, which was also very pretty. And then there was this one, which has a bronzer, 2 blushes, and a sort of highlighter slash blush topper. So this is a favorite because I really like the bronzer and I really like the blushes. And I also like this highlighter, but it's technically a little bit too dark for me. So I use it more as a blush topper. But I still really like it and I still used it a lot. I know a lot of people thought these palettes looked very cheap, but I actually think they look very pretty. They're very similar to the bigger palettes. And you only get 1 shade less, because there is a little brush in the other palette. So I highly recommend these. I think they were about 40 euros. Now let's also use a blush from this palette. I personally really like Solstice, which is this big one. But for today's look, I'm going into the matte pink blush, which is called Starlet. Just because I feel like it matches the look I'm going for a little bit better. And I really like these blushes because they seem to be pigmented enough and they are very buildable. But they're not overly pigmented, so much that you can't just throw them on without thinking. That's a nice blush, right? No complaints, soft formula. So yeah, this is definitely a favorite for me. Then my brow products. I hardly ever buy new brow products. But I did use my Lancôme powder to gel brow product a lot. I've also demoed it a lot in recent videos. But this gives me a nice colored in brow. I use the shade Blonde, but that is actually a pretty dark shade, so just be aware. But look how quick that goes. And then I always finish it up using a clear brow gel. This one is from NYX. And this way I can shape the brow a little bit more, pull up some hairs in the front, and make sure the Lancome product is nicely spread out. I think I've been doing this almost every day because it's just so quick. And I really like the result. Looks a little bit dramatic, but it'll be fine when I put my eyeshadow on. So let's get into eyeshadow. Well, I tried a lot of eyeshadow palettes this month. I had the Oden's Eye Mystery Box, in which I had the Elva 2 Mini Forest palette, which I loved. This was so beautiful. And I think this might be the one I'm using today. Then I also tried the Huda Beauty palette in Caramel. She released 3. I think that was at the end of last month, but I tried it in April. And this is what it looks like. Then Viseart came out with a new palette, which I also loved. I pretty much loved all of them. I'm just going to show them quickly, which is the Soleil La Plage, which is also beautiful. And then my final favorite eyeshadow palette is this one, the Dream Big palette by bPerfect, which has all these amazing shades, and I wish I could use it today, but I am a little bit pressed for time, so that's not going to be an option. But I really like this one, and I did a sunset cut crease on my channel in my review, and I'll use it more in the future. But I'm going to use one of the other palettes. I also tried the Revolution collection with the Aristocats, and I liked that palette, but it wasn't great quality. I mean, I really liked the packaging and the color scheme, but yeah, the quality wasn't amazing, so I'm just not going to show that one. So which one are we going to use? I think we're going into the Elva one, because I feel like this one can make a look very quickly. Just going to take my big brush, and I'm going into the shade Little Deer, which is the brown. I'm going to put that in the crease, a little bit above the crease, outer corner. That's just one shade and that already looks quite pretty. I'm taking my finger and I'm going into Breeze, which is the coppery colored one. And I'm going to put this all over my lid. And the look I did in my first impressions of this palette I liked a lot, because I used all the colorful shades. And I did a sort of rainbow eye, from yellow to green to blue. And I really like that one. But this looks pretty too. I don't know if you can see that, but it's very glittery. That's what I love about this palette. And the mattes are beautiful too. Just taking a small brush and I'm going into the same shade. Put that underneath the eye as well. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. I was planning to use the yellow, but I am going in with a pink highlighter and I did use a pink blush. So I don't think that would be perfect. I'm going to use my brown mascara from Clinique. I don't really love this mascara, but it's the only brown mascara that I have. And I feel like some looks just need a brown mascara. And it's not bad. The mascara that I still really love is the Catrice one, the Lift Up. So I feel like these browns are very neutral, which is why I'm comfortable using them with a pink highlighter. And this one is maybe my favorite discovery of this month. It's the Eyeshadow Revolution Aristocats highlighter, and I have the shade Beloved. It's a pinky with a slight purple shift. They did have two other shades. I think it was a gold and a copper. There is a mirror in this compact and I love this so much. I almost thought that it was a dupe for my also beloved Dior highlighter. It looks so smooth and sparkly and iridescent, and it's perfect for my skin tone. These kind of shades are often a little bit too pink, so they're a little bit too dark for me. But I feel like this one is perfect. See how pretty that is? Just going to take my powder brush because I went a little bit overboard. I also have a few favorites in the lip category. One of my favorites is the lipstick from Oden's Eye, which is in the shade Brown Rose, which is this beautiful cream lipstick formula in a reddish shade, sort of a terracotta. And I think my favorite discovery this month is the Huda Beauty cream lipstick. This is the new formula, and I have the shade Gold Digger. And this is a sort of neutral, maybe even cool toned brown, a mid-toned one. And I'm just going to put this one on. They're so thick, they really coat the lips. But then they're shiny. And they're comfortable. And they have a bit of a smell, but not an obnoxious one. Look how perfect that is with brown eyeshadow. I really like this lipstick. So that's it for the finished look. My mom will be here any second, so I'm going to finish this up. These are all the products I loved. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel, or I'll see you in the next one.